You know, every time we dive into ancient civilizations, I'm amazed at just how much the past shapes our present. There's this energy in exploring early Indian history, almost like discovering the roots of everything we see today.
Absolutely. And it's wild to think that ideas, technologies, and even social systems from thousands of years ago still echo through our culture. The Indian subcontinent, especially, offers such a rich tapestry layers of prehistoric life. Then the dawn of urban centers and so many pivotal shifts.
And that's why today we're setting out on a deep marathon-style journey through ancient Indian history, starting right from the prehistory, touching on the Indus Valley civilization, Vedic culture, and all the way to the rise of the first empires.
I'm excited. Let's not just talk dates and dynasties, though. I'm hoping we can really unpack how archaeology, old texts, and discoveries help us reconstruct the full story, what people ate, how they lived, what they believed.
Exactly. Maybe let's start at the very beginning, before writing, before cities. What do we actually know about prehistoric India?
So, when we talk about prehistoric India, we're jumping back to a time when writing hadn't even been invented yet. Archaeologists have to rely on stone tools, cave shelters, and the remains of old bones to figure out what life looked like.
Right. And the Stone Age here actually comes in 3 flavors: the Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic. Each one marks a step forward in how people made tools, hunted, gathered, and eventually settled.
What stands out for me is the sheer inventiveness. Imagine early humans in places like Bhimbetka caves, chipping stones into axes and scrapers, learning to use fire, sheltering from monsoons, and painting on cave walls.
And those microblades and tiny arrowheads from the Mesolithic, those show such clever adaptations. People weren't just surviving, they were innovating, observing animal movements, even starting to domesticate early animals.
That actually reminds me, animal domestication and the beginnings of crop growing really changed the game. The Neolithic period sees people in places like Mehrgar planting barley and rice, herding cattle, and even making pottery. It's humanity's first real move toward village life.
I've always found it incredible that just a few thousand years after the first villages, people in the Indus Valley were building planned cities. We're talking about the Harappan or Indus Valley civilization, one of the world's oldest urban societies.
Yeah, and it's not just the scale. Over 2,000 sites have been found across India and Pakistan. Cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa had straight roads, brick houses, public baths, and even drainage systems that would put some modern towns to shame.
And don't forget their art, the seals, stone figurines, jewelry and pottery, the famous dancing girl statue, or the bearded priest king show real sophistication. But what gets me is how uniform the city layouts are across such a vast area. There must have been some kind of central planning or shared standards.
Totally! And yet, there's still so many mysteries. We still can't read their script. It's like the past left us a coded message and we're still trying to crack it. But their cities, crafts, and trade links, even with places like Mesopotamia, tell us a lot about their skills and ambitions.
Honestly, the Indus Valley story flips the old colonial idea that civilization was only a Western thing. Here were cities thriving while much of Europe was still pretty rural. That's a source of pride and a mystery we're still piecing together.
You know, when the Indus Valley civilization faded around 1900 BCE, India didn't just freeze in time. The stage shifted to the Vedic age, marked by the arrival of Indo-Aryans and the compilation of the Rig Veda.
The Vedic age is fascinating because it's sort of a bridge between myth and history. On one hand, we get these hymns, rituals, and the beginnings of social divisions. On the other, we see the rise of kingdoms, iron technology, and gradual moves towards settled agriculture.
And the social changes are huge. Early Vedic society was more flexible, but over time, the Varna system, those four social classes, became rigid. Plus, kingdoms got bigger, and rituals became more elaborate, with priests gaining a ton of influence.
Funny thing, some of the most important Indian philosophies actually began as reactions against all that ritualism. Out of the late Vedic world came thinkers like Mahavira and Buddha, whose ideas changed not just religion, but politics and daily life.
Exactly. It's like Indian history is a giant conversation change, triggers reform, which triggers more change. And all of this lays the groundwork for what comes next, the rise of big kingdoms and the first empires.
So, by about 600 BCE, we see India dotted with these powerful states called Mahajanapadas. Some were monarchies ruled by kings, while others were republics, run by groups of nobles. It's a real patchwork of political experiments.
Definitely. You've got places like Magadha, Kashi, Kosala, and even republics like Vaji, where councils, not kings, called the shots. What I love is how these states were shaped by geography, resources like iron, and also by new ideas from Buddhism and Jainism.
And talk about competition. Wars, treaties, and alliances were the norm as states tried to expand. Magadha, in particular, just kept growing, absorbing neighbors, building up its military, and setting the stage for the Mauryan Empire.
That era is so lively. New cities popped up, trade exploded, and social mobility was possible, at least for some. At the same time, debates raged about power, fairness, and the role of kings. Some of those arguments sound surprisingly modern.
Which brings us to the threshold of something truly momentous, the rise of India's first great empire and the sweeping changes that came with it. But we'll save that for our next discussion.